Hey, what's up guys? Vin here from B737 Engineering, and in this video we'll be looking at how to design an aircraft nosecone in Solidworks by using the Loft feature. Now, lofting is a very popular process in modeling and CAD design, especially in mechanical engineering. It's basically taking a sketch and projecting a sketch onto a new sketch to make a solid body. Now, lofting is used in very complex designs. So for example, if you have like a consumer electronics like a mouse, for example, right? A computer mouse, it's very complex shapes and you have to use advanced features to do it. It's also used in aviation to create a complex aircraft nose cone for, Boeing and Airbus and all that. It's also used in supersonic aircraft design and wing design. So we'll be looking at how to use the SolidWorks Loft feature to create simple aircraft nose cones. So let's get started. So for this video, we'll be designing the front fuselage of two airplanes. The first one is the Boeing 737 and the next one is the F-22 Raptor. I'll be putting timestamps in the description box, so if you want to skip to a specific airplane, you can jump there. And let's get started. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is that you want to download a picture of an airplane's drawing in multiple views, namely top, front, and side. Here I have the Boeing's aircraft here. And the next thing you want to do is that you want to set some dimensions. So let's say that you're designing this for a wind tunnel test, for example, or you're just trying to do a scale model. In my case, I have 100 millimeters for my nose cone. So you can go on Paint or Photoshop or any other image software and draw two lines and set a dimension that you want. And here I have 100 millimeters and I'm going to be using this benchmark for my model. So we can start modeling now. So make a new part document by clicking on File, New Part. And when that's done, you can create a sketch on a plane of your choice. I'm going to be choosing the right plane since I want the model to line up with the plane which I choose. And then just draw a center line and draw two lines which are spaced 100 millimeters apart because that was my length. And then you can go on Tools, Sketch Tools and Sketch Picture because we want to add the picture in there. When it's added, you just simply drag it and drop it in there. You leave all this as it is unless you want to change it manually, but I would just say drag and drop is much faster. So try and get those two lines to line up there because those two lines are on the picture and we want it to be the same scale. And when it's lined up, that's how it's going to look. So save your part file if you want to. So now we can actually draw on top of the sketch. So go on Spline because the Spline feature lets you draw complex curves. There's many types of splines like cubic spline, quartic spline, but in this case you can draw a custom spline of your choice. And here you can just see me tracing it on top. And just simply keep on, clicking and dragging in there. Just make sure you try and get the spline to line up with the sketch. It is going to take a little bit of practice, but the idea is to get the exact shape from your picture onto the model, right? So we want things to match up. Here you can see me making a separate line because we're actually going to be only modeling it in two parts. So the first part is just until the tip of the nose cone, and then we'll be modeling the second nose cone after. So once again, just trace the bottom one, and when you're done, that's what it's going to look like. So you can hide this sketch if you want. Just fine tune it now and then. So when you're done, you can close the sketch and suppress the picture. So here I'm just applying some sketch constraints to make sure that the sketch matches up. We want the 2 points on the left to be exactly vertical, and we also want to dimension that line. So when we go back and add a new plane to create a new loft, we know what the value is, so we don't need to waste time looking for it. So here we have 16.85 millimeters, and that value will be important after. So close your sketch, and now so just go 100 millimeters on the opposite side because we want to make our cross section now. So on this plane, simply create a new plane and then create a new sketch on that plane. And add a picture again, go on Tool, Sketch Picture. This time you need to add a different picture because we'll be modeling the front of it. So go on this picture here, and once again try and get it to line up with the 2 points. So here I'm just simply trying to line up the plane with the cross section. This will take a little bit of time because you have to drag it and make sure that it fits exactly the way you want it to fit. So the top of that line needs to match up with the airplane's fuselage and the bottom as well. So that circle there has to be exactly accurate and also in the middle. So just try and, get it as best as you can. And when you're done, you can add some dimensions now. So here I have about a 25.8 millimeter from the middle till the edge. So now we can just, make an arc. But in this case, I'm just making a circle and dimensioning it as to 25.8 times 2. And now simply move that circle around till you get it to fit in the middle. And when that's done, you can also suppress the sketch and you can manually constrain the circle. So this is what I'm doing right now. Click on the point and then Control click the circle and then click on Pierce. But first let's drag the circle a bit to make sure that it matches up. We can see it's a little bit off from the guide curves. So we need to ensure that the circle matches up perfectly because we want the points to pierce that circle. So here I'm applying a coincident constraint to make sure that it fits. And same goes with the bottom as well. Now the value of the radius might change a little bit, but that's fine because we want it to match up with the guide curves and not be the exact value which we set it to be from the sketch. Okay, so when that's done, so now that cross section is finished and we can make a new one. So that's how the sketch looks now. So we're halfway there and we can create a new one. So now let's hide that plane. And the dimension which we had before of 16.85 millimeters, now let's make a plane on that sketch. So once again, go on, insert reference geometry and plane, and let's add that dimension there. So we had 16.85 and flip the offset to make sure that it hits that surface. So now go back into a sketch on that plane and make 2 guide lines to help us, better line up the sketch. And now go on Tools, Sketch Tools and Sketch Picture one more time and let's add it in there. So front view again because we'll be modeling the front of it now. And let's drag it and make sure that it lines up. When it's lined up, you can go on the spline feature and make a new spline there. So just, try and get it to line up with that circle. It's actually not a perfect circle, so we need to use splines in this case. And when you're done, you can simply apply a mirror on the other side because it will be a lot faster than just doing the whole thing again. So here I'm adding a sketch fillet to smoothen it out a bit. And draw a center line and then just mirror that to the opposite side. So when we mirror something, we know for sure that it's going to be symmetric. And obviously an airplane is symmetric on each side, so we have to use the mirror feature. And when that's done, we have a nice looking cross section there. So we can then, so now our plane is almost done, but we need to make guide curves from the side, right? Because we only have 2 guide curves now and we need some more to make it a better loft. So now I'm going to edit my sketch and I'm going to notice that the middle of the nose cone lines up exactly with my origin. So that's good because we don't need to make a new plane. We can just simply sketch on the plane which we have. So here I'm on my top plane, I'm making a new sketch and we need to again insert a picture. So this time we'll be adding the top picture because we need that to be lined up with the cross section, and rotate the picture there by changing the angle to 90 degrees. And once again drag it in and make sure that it lines up with the sketch. And once again go on the spline feature and make 2 more guide curves. Now this whole thing I'm mentioning, guide curves are very important in creating a loft. So if you want to design a complex feature in SolidWorks such as a mouse or a light bulb or something, it's heavily dependent on lofting, and you need guide curves to actually determine how your loft is going to fit and to determine the curvature of it. So if you don't have guide curves, your shape will be extremely inaccurate and it'll look nothing like what you want it to look like. So make sure you have guide curves in there and make sure you define them well. So here again, I'm going to apply a mirror feature because that saves time. Okay, so now it looks pretty good, but we need to also constrain it because it's just hanging in the air. So here I'm control clicking the point and the curve of that circle. So it's going to pierce on both sides, and that is something which we need. So for that point there, you can see that it's over-defined. So to fix that, let's look into the sketch relations to see what the problem is. And it looks like the point is coincident, right? So we need to fix that now. You can go on diagnose or manual repair and it's going to tell you. So in this case, I took out the midpoint feature and then now you can constrain the sketch well. So now the point is on the curve and now our guide curves are done. So we can do a loft now. Just go on the loft feature and select your guide curves on your 2 profiles and make sure that it lines up well. So we can also, customize the guide curves if we need to after, but for now they look pretty good. So our loft of the half of the nose cone is done, but we need to still model the other part of it. So that is how our loft looks like, and we can then create a new sketch on that front plane. So this time I'm simply making a circle because the nose cone is actually a circle. So we need to first create a lofted circle and then finish the nose cone off. So I'm making a sketch on the plane a little offset from that point, and now I'm going to also convert entities on my old sketch. So simply go into loft once again and click those 2 sketches and then your loft is done. So now we just need to finish up the nose cone. So let's do that. You can change the circle if you want to after. So now just create a line in the middle of that circle and let's do a revolve and finish off this nose cone. So here I'm making this a line from the edge of the circle to the middle, and I'm making an arc. You can also customize the arc to the curvature that you want it to be, and then let's do a revolve. So finish the sketch, close it off, and then go into features and hit revolve feature. We can also fine-tune it a bit. So here I'm trimming and adding some more features in there. And let's do a revolve. So go on revolve and we're done. So that is our attempt of the nose cone for the Boeing 737, and now let's do the F-22. Okay, so for example 2, the F-22 Raptor. Once again, the same concepts, open a new sketch and let's create a plane on the front plane. Drag in a picture, but first you can make those 2 lines again and space them equal to your length of 100 millimeters. Drag in a picture there and let's drag in the side. Adjust it to make sure that it fits those 2 lines that you want to match up with. And when that's done, you simply go on the spline feature and trace it out. So we'll be tracing the aircraft side over there and not the bottom, because we want that profile to be exactly the same. So go on spline and drag it in there. But first we can also define a line to break up the section, because we'll be doing 2 lofts just as in the previous case, and draw a spline and try and match up the curve So the F-22 is a very aerodynamic aircraft, which is why the loft is very complicated, not like a typical commercial jet, because it does go supersonic, right? So it needs to be able to achieve a lot of lift force even though you're going very fast, because when you go supersonic there's shock waves involved. So anyway, just try and match up the curves there by using the spline feature. When that's done, you can also hide the sketch and see what it looks like. So this is what it looks like for now, which is pretty good. And once again, exit the sketch and let's add a new plane, 100 millimeters, so the back, and let's create our cross section there. So make a sketch on that plane and drag in the other picture. But first you can make the two lines to make sure that your sketches will be much easier to line up, right? So now go on tools, go on sketch tools and sketch picture and drag it in there, and once again adjust it till you get your desired shape. So when you adjust it, now you can drag in the spline and then make the cross section. So again, this is a very complicated cross section. It's not like a simple circle, because once again the plane is very aerodynamic and it needs to be able to fly very fast at high speeds. So design the splines to line up perfectly with your picture. You can also use the mirror feature here because the aircraft is symmetric as any aircraft is. So when you're done your splines, you can make a center line and then mirror the entities. So it looks pretty good now. The sketch is finished. We can make the other cross section now. So in this case, I used the same exact concept to create the cross section there. Simply make a new plane and drag it in there. And this is what it looks like for now. So it does look extremely good. So we can just, fine tune some stuff. And when you're done, we need to go on the top plane, make a new sketch on the top plane and drag in the other picture, because we need to make 2 more guide curves. It's very important to always make 4 guide curves because you have to control the loft from multiple angles to get the best curvature result for your project, right? So try and use as many guide curves as possible. Don't use too many because that'll over constrain everything, but usually you need to use 1 on each side. So drag in your picture, make the lines line up, and once again make a spline. So in this case it's a simple arc because the F-22 has a very arc shape to it from the sides, right? And that is done for shock wave effects. So it looks pretty good now, but the curves aren't like, they can still be constrained, so we can constrain them. You have to make sure that the curves touch the surface. So control click it and hit coincident or pierce to make it click, right? From the front and also from the back you can do the same thing. When that's done, you can then do a loft. So go in the loft feature and click the 2 profiles and then do a loft curve. So that looks extremely well. So it looks essentially like almost like the actual airplane, but now we need to do some sketches to complete the nose cone. So let's first do convert entities and then insert a plane which is a little offset from the front plane. Once again, the nose cone is a circle, so it has to be a circle, but now we don't have a circle, so we need to create it, extrude it and create it first and then finish the pointy end of the nose cone, right? So here I'm just creating a circle. You can dimension it as per anything you want because the end result is going to be a point, right? So try and make your circle somewhere in the middle of that feature. And when your circle is done, you can do a loft one once again. But first we need to again go in the top plane and then finish off our guide curves. And in this case we don't have any guide curves, so it'll not be very accurate when we do the loft. But this guide curve here should match up with that arc because we want it to be pointy, right? So create 2 guide curves and then line it up, right? So when that's done, pierce the points and go in the other plane and create and once again do the arc. So since we need 4 guide curves to complete the sketch. When that is done, you can finally do the loft again. So select the 4 guide curves and finish up the loft, just as the way we did before. So our nose cone is pretty much almost done, but we need to once again complete it because it's pointy in the front, right? So let's just make a simple sketch here, like a revolve, and then finish that. So here I'm making a sketch on the front plane, and I'm just going to do a simple revolve. So a circle and then revolve it, and then that should be it. So that's our nose cone here, it's done. The F-22 is also done. So that is how you do a nose cone in SolidWorks. By using the Loft feature, it's a very useful tool and very important. For those of you who are studying aerospace engineering, you will come across a time where you have to take a class or a design course where you have to design an airplane. So this lofting feature is extremely important for that. And no matter what software you use, let's say like SolidWorks or CATIA or something, every CAD software does have a lofting feature in it, so make sure you know this feature very well, especially if you're interested in aircraft design. And with that being said, thank you for watching. I hope you guys learned something new. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye.